Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ingrid here at My Inner Palette. In this video, I would like to talk to you about my personal experience with the Vipassana Meditation, which is a 10-day retreat in which you are not supposed to be talking to anyone or looking even at their faces. So my idea in this video is to walk you through the different aspects of the whole 10-day retreat and what you might need to consider if you're considering to participate in a 10-day Vipassana retreat. Because being a first-time student requires you to do 10 days and no less than that. And I totally agree with it, because otherwise you wouldn't get the transformation that you get after the 10 days. So I'm gonna be trying to go through a lot of different aspects to this, and at the end I'm going to be sharing my personal experience as well, so bear with me. If you don't want to hear about anything of like all the technical stuff about accommodation, the food that you are going to be served, how the hall looks like and all of those things, then you can skip to the part that I'm gonna share my own experience at the end, which I do recommend you to hear right at the end, because I had like a very particular type of experience in the last night of the retreat. And before we move on with the video, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you are subscribing to it. If you find this video useful, make sure that you are giving it a like, because it really helps me through my own personal journey. And without further ado, let's jump into the whole thing. So, what is Vipassana? And here I'm gonna get an extract from the webpage that they have, because I just prefer to read that one out loud rather than me coming up with certain sentences. I don't want to dishonor the practice. So Vipassana, which means to see things as they really are, is one of India's most ancient techniques of meditation. It was taught in India more than 2,500 years ago, and as a universal remedy for universal ills, an art of living. For those who are not familiar with Vipassana meditation, you can find an introduction made by Mr. Goenka, and there are other related videos as well that you can find in their webpage. So I'm gonna leave you the link to their webpage in the description box below, so that you can actually access that as well. When we're looking at the centers, there are different Vipassana centers in different parts of the world. And this is great because it means that you can access them in very remote places. My personal experience was in the one located in New Zealand, which is close to Auckland. And the centers, they might vary across, like how the accommodation look like, or the food, or things like that. So when it comes to details, I might give you details, but it might or might not be exactly the same if you're choosing a different location than New Zealand. The Vipassana course, it's free. So all the accommodation and food that you received while doing a 10-day Vipassana retreat, they're all free of cost. So who's funding the centers? They're actually donors. And you can become a donor as well after you've experienced the whole 10 days. If you wanted to say like, hey, I would like someone else to benefit from this, by the end, you can, if you want, and if you will, right? Leave a donation for the center. This is not mandatory or anything like that, but it's something that you can do. Another thing is that after you've done a 10-day Vipassana retreat, you can also, as an older student, consider as an old student, you can also volunteer to serve in the kitchen, or to serve as admin person, or like to clean and things like that, but it's also not mandatory, okay? Nothing is mandatory, everything is free will, which is beautiful. First of all, when you arrive to one of the centers, you need to do a registration in a way. And in this registration, they're gonna ask you if you're carrying anything that you're not supposed to have in the room or things like that. And for example, phones or electronic devices, things like that. The idea is that you don't take them with you to the room. So they are gonna give you like a little bag, and then they storage all of your these personal items in a safe, guarded location, okay, that you receive at the end when you leave. So now jumping into accommodation. The accommodation, at least in the New Zealand Centre, is divided in different quarters for male and female. Now, if you need any type of accommodation when it comes to gender, I would prompt you to reach out directly to them, because I do not have the answers for that. Now, once you do your registration, once you arrive, then you get allocated a room. And in that room, you're gonna find very simple setting as a bed. They give you a blanket, a pillow, and optional, you can take a clock that you can plug in inside of your room to keep track of the time. If you want it, you don't need to, because you will get reminded of every time that you're supposed to be in the hall meditating anyways. And the toilet facilities are outside of the room, and they're shared facilities, and the idea is that you also take care of not leaving a full mess for everyone there. When we're talking about food, the food that they serve in these retreats, it's simple vegetarian meals. It's not vegan, it's not carnivore, it's vegetarian. So again, if you need any type of accommodation here, make sure that you're putting it into your application or reaching out to them directly so they can guide you through that. The amount of food that you're gonna be getting, it's like in a buffet setting. So you can just go there and serve yourself for breakfast and also for lunch. For tea time, which is the last meal of the day, if you're a new student, you are allowed to have a fruit and a cup of tea, or a herbal tea. That's another thing. And if you're an older student, you're probably not going to be watching this video, but regardless of that, if you're an older student, then you skip the fruit and you only have a cup of tea for tea time. Another important thing to notice is that you're not supposed to bring your own snacks and food into the Vipassana retreat. So if you did by accident have like a snack bar or something like that in your luggage, please refrain to not have it, because that's not the idea of the retreat. The next point, it will be exercising. You're not supposed to be exercising through a Vipassana retreat. The only type of exercise allowed is to walk, not like walking at a fast pace, just like walking mindfully throughout the plot, let's say, of the center. So in the case of New Zealand, it was very beautiful because they have a lot of like native flora and fauna around, so you can just enjoy observing and meditating and contemplating everything that you have available to you. The next one might be a difficult one for a lot of us, and it's called noble silence. So when you're in a Vipassana retreat, you are meant to practice noble silence. What does noble silence mean? It means to pretty much not talk, not singing, and the idea is that if you cross with another person, that you're not like staring at them in the face like, oh, they're crying, or they're this or that, nothing. You just look down to your feet or whatever. Try not to engage in eye contact with other people. That's part of the noble silence as well. And why is this? Because you allow yourself to have your own experience, but you're also allowing everyone else to have their own experiences without feeling that someone's staring at them or judging them or wanting to hug them, because it happens, right? You start touching into different things within yourself and your inner being that they want to express themselves freely. And a lot of times we refrain from expressing ourselves freely because someone else is there. And we think that they're going to judge us or look at us or something, right? So this is why the noble silence is there. When can you break the noble silence? obviously after the Vipassana has finished and they say that now you can talk, or when talking to one of the teachers. So here we jump into the teachers as well. So we have two teachers, a female and a male. So the female, it's in the female quarters as well, and it has times of the day that when you have a break, you can actually go there and talk to the teacher in case that you have any type of questions, worries, any type of concern, or you're experiencing something that you don't understand and you want to clarify that with them. That's also available to you. Okay, once we get to my particular experience, I did get the chance to talk to one of the teachers, so I'm gonna comment on that later on in the video. When we're looking as well into this type of retreats, there's also this ethical type of guidelines that they ask you to commit to before starting the whole course of Vipassana. So one of them is no stealing, no drugs, or painkillers or any type of chemical drugs or things like that, no harming others. You're not supposed to have anything to read or to write with. So if you're prone to journaling, you're not supposed to be journaling even. Obviously, I talked about before the phone. The phone, you're supposed to leave it in a safeguarded place. So no phones allowed either, or any type of distractions. And this is just for you to allow to be just with yourself throughout the whole process. And it can be a bit challenging for a lot of us, if not all of us. Jumping into the next point, dress code. What is the dress code? Of course, you're not going to a party, so the idea is that you dress in a very modest way, and that you're not using any type of clothing that might be revealing or too tight to your body. So if you are the type of person like myself that loves wearing tights, you can use like a meditation type of pant that is more floaty. Or if you are using the tights, make sure that you're covering with something that is loose on top and is covering pretty much half of your body, right? It's not allowed to be wearing any type of jewelry or any type of makeup either. So the idea is that you are very modest in how you look as well. You are separated from men, but you get together in a way, still separated, but you get to see male and female on one side or the other of the hall. And you don't want to be catching someone's attention and getting them out of their own personal inner process, right? So here's where you just keep everything to yourself pretty much. Now we're going into talking about the hall, the meditation hall. Because in the centers you have separated quarters for male and females, then the entrance to the main meditation hall is also separate. But once you get inside, if you're looking to the front, the right side is only for females and the left side is only for males. And here you also have an allocated seat. So older students, they are meant to be in the front rows, and then new students more in the back. And the first day, when you get to access the hall, is where you get a seat allocated to you. Like a space. And there's also available extra blankets if you need them, or cushions. There's also like this meditation stools, but you can also bring your own, and they're available there. It doesn't mean that there's infinite amount of them, so you're sharing with everyone, right? So if you really need particular things that would allow you to sit for longer periods of time comfortably in meditation, I would recommend you to take them with you if you can, unless it is like something super big, but up to you. I remember that in my case, I did take a meditation cushion that that would allow me to stay very straight, and also a meditation stool. So you can actually sit on the wood and put your legs like this, but you're sitting on something. I hope that makes sense. That really helped with my knees as well, because at one point things are gonna start hurting, guys, so beware of that. If you can take anything to make yourself feel more comfortable, you're gonna remember this. Within the hall, you will also have the teacher. So the female teacher will sit, they sit more like towards the middle of the hall, and the female teacher will sit more like towards the right side, and the male teacher towards the left side. And you would be put recordings, not all the time, but you will be like, when they're teaching you a new technique or something that they're incorporating, they're gonna run a recording with Mr. Goenka. Now let's talk about the application for a Vipassana course. You can do this through their web page directly, and sometimes there's no availability for certain dates, so you might need to find one that there's availability for you. And you do this all by an online application through their website. If you were to have any type of special needs, it could be around food, accommodation for disabilities, whatever it is, there's a place in the application that you can actually mention that. In my case, I did mention about being prone to migraines, so sometimes I need to take like certain pills in the past. Now it's much better. I'll tell you about that later. And the other thing that I did request was a chair, because as I said, they provide you with different cushions, blankets and things like that you start like propping yourself with all around you, so that you can sit straight and with a little bit less pain. But because I was having, and sometimes I still have, hip pain, I said like, could you please give me a chair? So they came back with that, and when I got to my designated place, I actually had a chair available for me. It was like a tiny little chair, it wasn't like a normal sized chair, so that's something that I was not expecting, but still it was much more comfortable than just sitting on the ground or on the cushion the whole time. Okay, when it comes to applying for this, if you're a new student, you can only apply for a 10-day Vipassana course. You cannot do 3 days or 1 day, that you might see them offered as well. For that, it's only for older students that have gone through at least one set of the 10-day Vipassana retreat. One thing that I do recommend if you're considering doing a Vipassana course is that you're very committed to the whole process and to yourself, because it might get challenging. And I remember people leaving in the middle of the 10-day course, they couldn't finish it. So make sure that you're preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, physically even, to participate in it. And if you're there, you will get the whole reward at the end if you stay for the 10 days. That's just in my personal experience. And it wasn't that I wasn't challenged throughout the 10 days. I'll let you know later on in the video. Next on my list is the schedule. So I'm gonna go through this a little bit quicker and leave you a description in the description box of how the schedule looks like, because otherwise this video is gonna get very, very long, and I'm trying to avoid doing that. So first, you're gonna get woken up by a gong. Someone with a gong is gonna be walking through the aisles of the accommodation, and you are gonna be woken up at 4 a.m. The first meditation starts at 4:30, so the 4 a.m. wake up call is pretty much go to the toilet, do whatever you need, dress up, whatever you need to do before going into the first meditation session that goes from 4:30 in the morning to 6:30. And here you can meditate either in your room or you can go to the hall. Then from 6:30 to 8 a.m. we have the breakfast and rest. So here's where you go, have your breakfast, and then you have some time as well to walk around. If you need to do some laundry, you can do some laundry, things like that. From 8 to 9 a.m. there's a group meditation, and in this one everyone gathers at the hall. Then from 9 to 11 a.m. there's another meditation session that starts right there, but you can have a break, go to the toilet and come back, or in this case you can also go to your room and keep on meditating for that hour in your room. Then from 11 to 1 p.m. you have lunch and also rest, and it's pretty much as the breakfast. You can do whatever you want as long as you're committing to all of the things that I've said before in the video. From 1 to 2:30 p.m. you have another meditation session, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that in this one you could stay in your room or you could go to the hall. 2:30 to 3:30 there's another group meditation, and this one is at the hall. And then from 3:30 to 5 p.m. there's another meditation session, and you can continue meditating by yourself in your room or in the hall. So there's like this mix of, you can meditate from the room or from the hall. Why meditating from the room sometimes is something that you can try, because you have a wall. So sometimes you are in the hall and you're like, oh my God, melting away, and it's very hard to just like keep up your back straight. So in that case, you can take your meditation cushion or something like that to the room, put it right against the wall, and then you can rest your back a little bit while you're still meditating and doing the work, okay? And from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. There's the tea break. And in this tea break, as I mentioned before, it's a fruit in a tea for new students, or just a tea for older students. And from 6 to 7 p.m. there's group meditation, and this one is an evening guided meditation, so you want to be at the hall for it. From 7 to 8:15 is the discourse, and this is kind of like going almost like into the closing up of the whole session. So pretty much at 5 p.m. you go to the hall, have the meditation, and then you have the discourse that you're gonna hear Mr. Goenka in a video. And every night you're gonna get taught different things about the practice, different examples, and I'm not gonna spoil them for you. It's better if you hear them yourself. And after the discourse, from 8:15 to 9, there's the last meditation session, everyone at the hall. And then from 9 to 9:30 you can have questions with the teacher as well. Oh, and when you're having breaks, for example, for the breakfast or the lunch, there's also availability to go and make an appointment with the teacher. And then at 9:30 p.m. lights out, and you just go to bed. So here at from 9 to 9:30 you can either talk to the teacher, or you can just go and brush your teeth and do your thing, right? So how does the meditation aspect of a Vipassana course looks like? The first 3 days is focusing on the Anapana meditation. In the Anapana meditation, you're gonna start first just focusing on your breath. That's it. So you're breathing in and breathing out, right? And you start focusing on that. If your mind wanders to somewhere, because it usually does, then you bring it back to your breath, and that's it. Throughout the first 3 days, the idea is that you start feeling the sensations of your breath in the spot in your nostrils, and then right on top of your mouth. And that's it. It's very simple, very, very effective. Then on day 4 to 9, you're gonna be taught the Vipassana practice. And with this, I don't want to go really into details, but the full aspect of it is that you're gonna start moving your attention to every particular parts of your body at a time, but you're gonna be moving that attention, and you're gonna start focusing on the sensations that your body feels. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that later on my own experience with it, because it was wild. It was really wild. Wild. So that's pretty much it. And you do it every day, every day. And it's the constancy and the practice that you add to it, and the commitment to yourself and to your own process, that it takes you to wow experiences if you are able to bring yourself to that present moment. On day 10, they teach you the metta meditation, and in this part it's a very beautiful meditation, because it's once you've gotten to a place that you're neutral, that you're not judging, that you're just in awe and connected to everything and everyone and yourself, and I don't even have the words to explain the experience as it is. Then the idea is that you're expanding that to every living being. And I do get emotional, because you start expanding your self-love to everyone, your self-compassion to compassion to all, the caring that you have for yourself, for everyone else as well. And everything starts from within. So I think that, to me, this whole 10 days was a mind-blowing experience. But it wasn't even my mind, the one that was blown. It was just the whole embodying the meditation that is just difficult to explain. So you have to live it. Wow. And I promised you that I was going to share a little bit of my own experience. And to me, this has been one of the most challenging and rewarding at the same time experiences that I put myself through, and voluntarily. I had a lot of doubts, I had a lot of fears when I was coming in. And I remember that arriving to the center, just leaving all my things, grabbing my bag, going to my room. I looked the door, I was like, oh my God, I'm crazy, what am I doing? I'm here, okay, I'm here. I thought that not having my phone with me was gonna be the biggest challenge, because like, oh, I don't know what to do. You grab your phone, you start like scrolling, doing whatever, communicating to someone, sending a message, listening to music, whatever it is. And that wasn't actually the most challenging thing at all. At the end, I was like, I don't even need my phone. But anyways, then once we started with the Anapana meditation, and it's about feeling the sensations on your nostrils first, and then right on top of your lips. It was like, at first I was like, okay, I'm supposed to breathe now for 10 days. That's what I thought. Very judgy at the time, I guess, judging the whole process. But then I started feeling the sensations here. When I started feeling the sensations here, it's like, oh wow. And when I got to experience the Vipassana meditation, that you focus on the sensations, you're like scanning your whole body in different points. By the end, I could focus on that tiny little point here on my arm, and I could feel that, and only that, and the sensations that I was having right there. And one of the most magnificent things, sorry about the noise, because I'm here in Washington DC, and there's a lot of noise and people walking in the hallway or outside, whatever. But going back to what I was saying, focusing on something so particular, it was just like mind-blowing, because I started in the middle of the course having migraines, and I was with a migraine for the whole course of 10 days. And I was trying not to take painkillers or anti-inflammatory pills and all of that, because I was committed to the process. So here is where I got called as well from the teacher. They left me a little note outside of my room, and I was sent to see the teacher, and she was asking me how I was feeling, if I had a migraine, and I said like, yes, I'm actually experiencing a migraine. And It was beautiful because Mr. Goenka, he suffered from migraines as well, and Vipassana was one of the techniques that he actually used to get out of the migraines, right? So I remember that the teacher mentioned that to me as well, and I was like, okay, let's just work with this. If I have the migraine right here, right now, it's because of a reason. So I'm not going to judge the process. I'm just going to go through it and feel it. And it was mind-blowing at one point because it was so much pain that I was having on my right side. So much pain. And I remember when I was taught the Vipassana meditation that at one point I started feeling not the pain, but what was under the pain. So it was the sensations underneath the massive pain that I was feeling. And suddenly it sort of like disconnected and I couldn't feel any more pain. I could feel though, like if I had like a little twister going on and on and on inside of my head. It was like a little cone twister here. And I could feel it kind of like turning around, and it was like, oh, I don't feel the pain anymore, but whatever I'm feeling is like different. It feels like it's moving. It was like excess energy. Now I know because of other practices as well that it was excess energy that I was having there. It wasn't even mine to begin with, but it was a lot of things there going on and on and on. If you want to know more about the migraines and the core, the root source of the migraines that I was having, let me know and I might do a video later on about it. But this sensation there, I was like, oh wow, okay. So the more I felt it, the more it dissipated the pain. The same started happening with the pain that I was feeling in my lower back, because sitting for that many hours is gonna start triggering you like, oh, my shoulders, my back, my knees, my this, my that. Whenever I was getting really into the Vipassana meditation, then at one point I would feel the sensations, I wouldn't feel the pain. And as I progressed throughout the days, then I started feeling sensations even within me, not only on the surface or like right here where I was having the pain, but then, how to explain it? I would breathe in, and even now I can do it. Like it has become second nature to me. But I could feel like the air coming in and going through the lungs and expanding in my chest and everything. I started feeling sensations of like, oh, everything is energy, you know? So if you're adding, okay, excess energy sometimes means pain. This is why excess energy that I was having here was creating pain. And when I started feeling as well, like, oh my God, like I feel like the air, the sensation of the air touching my lungs inside. It was very, very like mind-blowing. I don't think that everyone doing the 10-day course might experience all of the things that I'm saying, but we're all in different stages and you might be experiencing other things. So even if you've done 10-day Vipassana retreat in the past, I would love to know your experiences as well. If you wanted to share, make sure that you're writing them in the comments. I would love to read about them. Also, another thing is that on day 4, once we got introduced to the Vipassana meditation, I remember feeling it, but thinking like, I've done this before. I know I've done this before. And I didn't know then, but I was activating a past life in which I was a monk. So I have done this meditations before, I don't know how many years ago, but I have done that before in my life. So when I started, like, it was like, oh my God, I'm connecting with something that I have experienced before, that I've done before. So I think that this is why it became almost like second nature to me to do it and to get so deep into the sensations that I was feeling all over. And it's funny because whenever you're having some type of pain, underneath the pain it could be a tingling sensation, it could be some type of tension, it could be all the type of sensations, but you're not focusing on the pain anymore. You're just focusing on, oh, it seems a little bit tight, or it seems tingling, or it seems like something is moving, you know. I don't know, like you put a name to the sensation, like there's so many. It's like, oh, it feels like hot, you know, or like warm or cold, perhaps, whatever it is. There's so many different type of sensations that you can feel. But the idea is that when you're there, you're not judging the sensations, you're just feeling them. And this is like the whole embodiment of the practice. The last night that I got to spend in the Vipassana retreat, it was after the last meditation, after the lights gone out at 9:30 p.m. I was lying, looking at the ceiling pretty much, on the bed, and I started breathing. And by then I could really feel all the sensations in my body. I wasn't even in meditation, but I was feeling everything in my body. And I remember just being there, and at one point I started kind of like drifting into sleep, but not quite. And I started seeing, kind of like with my eyes closed, like this lights coming like chuk, 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 chuk. And they started like going like fast, 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 fast. It's almost like if I was in a train rail, like this, looking up, and then the train started passing it like above me, something like that. I don't know how to explain it. And I started hearing like this chuk, 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 chuk. And I started feeling after that like this whole vortex of energy around me. I was still like facing up in a straight position, but it was kind of like going all over me, like around, like in very quick. Like this is like super slow for it. It's like, you know, it's like a lot of energy like going around me. And then at one point, I was like, oh, what's happening? I wasn't afraid though. I was like, this is interesting. I wonder. And then at one point, like, I felt this very conscious out-of-body experience. So I started lifting up, and I remember like, oh, I'm floating, and I'm doing this consciously, because I have done it before in an unconscious way, and I used to do it a lot when I was a child and growing up. But here, it was totally conscious. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like I'm lifting out of my body. And I remember that I got kind of like to the ceiling, and then I started like, okay, coming back. And then I integrated myself into my body again and opened my eyes. I was like, oh wow, that was crazy. I remember that. And after that, the next morning, when we were able to break the noble silence, it was a very odd sensation for me as well, because after not talking to anyone for 10 days, but the teacher, I remember that, like, oh, now I can talk to people. And I went back to my room and closed the door. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to talk. How do you talk to people after this experience? You know, I didn't know. It was just like so odd. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go outside. And I remember that another woman was crossing by, and we looked at each other, because before we couldn't look at each other's faces. We looked at each other. It's like, do you feel like walking? Sure, let's just walk together then. Okay. And we started walking without talking together. And I don't remember who started talking first, but I was like, it feels odd to talk again. Yes, it does. And then we started talking about that and sharing our own experiences. I wanted to share all of this with you, because if you're looking into a way of really going and drilling into whatever might be coming up for you in this part of your life, and you're feeling drawn to having a different experience, and you want to meditate, you already meditate, or you don't meditate, or anyone can do it. It is challenging, yes it is, but it's very rewarding at the same time. So I would highly encourage you to try it at least once in your life, because to me, this whole experience unblocked a pathway for me to heal my migraines. I did not do it only with Vipassana practice, I have to be honest, but it was like the key that unlocked something within me. It's like there is a sensation there before the pain. That made the whole difference to me. It's like, what is this sensation? So I went further on into discovering what was this sensation. And I started getting into healing myself pretty much through my whole process. Okay, so I am happy to share more of that in a different video, but this is way too long. So if you want to hear about that, let me know in the comments as well. And I'm gonna leave it up to here. I hope that you have a beautiful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I send you a lot of love, peace, and harmony to your life. And I will see you next time. Bye.